If you can smell over there in the weather center, but we've got some Chinese grub going up this morning for Thrifty Thursday. Chinese New Year, I wasn't even aware. You were the one that told me about this coming up.
Yes, in a couple days.
Right?
This weekend, this weekend. So we'll do a little fake out.
You got a lot of Chinese in your heritage, right?
Oh, absolutely. Can't you see the resemblance?
Blonde hair,
Yes. So this one's really easy, and it's even fun because you get to put it in your crock pot. So even easier.
Big fans of crock pot.
I love the crock pot.
So already in the crock pot, I have a can of beef broth and a half a cup of low sodium soy sauce, some garlic, some brown sugar, all those kind of goodies in there. And then your steak, you just need to pick really a cheap cut. That's what's nice about the crock pot, is when you're doing this, it's going to cook down really well, and the soy sauce obviously is going to break down the meat.
So it'll get softer even if it is the cheap meat?
Yeah, so pick a cheap cut of meat. I really like the flat irons. They are a little more expensive, usually about $3.99 a pound. You can go cheaper, but that's what I'm using. Either way, the trick to it though is you just want to make sure that you're slicing it extremely thin.
So you said a flat iron, is this kind of a cut?
This is a flat iron.
Okay.
And so you just want to make sure that you're cutting it.
Is there an easier direction to cut the steak, or does it not matter so much?
It's just against the grain.
Against the grain, okay.
Yep, and that's going to make it thinner and more tender by doing it that way.
And I see you're kind of slicing it at a diagonal. I'm guessing that helps you get the...
Yeah, you can see that's the grain.
Okay.
And so that's what you want to cut this way. Instead of going this way, then you're going to have these long strips of gristle through it, which is going to be really tough.
Yeah, ew.
So yeah, so you just want to go like that.
No one wants that.
Yeah, so cut it really thin like that. And then put this meat into the sauce that you have going on and let it cook all day. Put it on low.
And we've got those ingredients for the sauce up there as well on the screen.
Yeah, just put it on low, let it cook all day. When you get home, you can go ahead and do your rice, to the directions that are on the box, or if you're doing dry rice, steam it up.
Yeah.
While it's cooking, you want to take your broccoli that's chopped up and put it in there into the beef and let it cook kind of the same time as the rice is. It'll take about that time, about another 30 minutes.
Oh, so broccoli goes in at the end.
Broccoli at the end.
Oh, awesome. Okay, and if you don't, I guess if you want the flavor to be just with the beef, I guess you could steam the broccoli with your rice as well, right?
Yeah, you could.
Either way, so you got a couple options if you've got the rice going already.
Yeah,
so
the idea is to put in there, if you're using a bag of frozen broccoli, don't unthaw it before you put it in there, because that half hour in there is more than enough time. You don't want it to be soggy. You still want it to kind of have some texture.
Okay.
And same even if you're doing, and if you're doing fresh, don't worry about steaming it before you put it into the juice.
And as far as price breakdown for the broccoli, is frozen cheaper than the fresh, or are they comparable?
Right now it's really comparable. I mean, you can pick up a bag of frozen broccoli for right around like 79 cents to $1 a bag. But broccoli fresh right now, is running usually about 88 cents a pound is about average on it.
So maybe it's a time thing. If maybe you don't have time to shop it, you could just throw the bag of the frozen stuff in there. Might be a little quicker.
That's my kind of cooking.
Now,
open the bag.
Open the bag
and dump it in.
Easy. And then once you have that in there, you want to then take, in here I just have a little bit of cornstarch, and you're just going to want to take some of the juice and put it in here, and this is just going to help be your thickening agent.
Okay.
So you can do this, just mix it up.
And it's important to know, you don't just dump the cornstarch
No, because you don't want it to be all clumpy.
Yeah.
So do it this way first, and the liquid's hot enough, it's going to just dissolve your cornstarch.
Which is helpful for those ones.
Yes.
And then you just put it all back into the crock pot.
And then put all this back into there.
And that's when everything's done, or is that when it's still cooking?
And that's why when you have your broccoli in there, and that last half hour time of cooking, and then of course,
it'll thicken the sauce a little bit.
It will. It'll thicken the sauce a little bit.
And look at that delicious presentation.
And that's so easy. It's beautiful.
Chinese beef and broccoli in honor of Chinese New Year, which is coming up this weekend. And of course, this meal won't be complete without dessert. You probably know what direction we're going with that. But wait about a half an hour and you'll see for sure. And just one last quick question: price breakdown per person for this meal.
Gosh, it ends up just being a little over $1 a serving with it. And that's even including your cookies, because really you think about the miscellaneous ingredients that you have already in your pantry.
And the fact that you've got beef in there and it's just over $1 a person, great meal.
It's excellent. It's healthy. Look at that. Perfect.
All right. Thanks so much, Jessica. Livingonacoupon.com is where you want to head for all that. We'll, of course, post the recipe to Idaho on your side.com. And
of course, we are talking Chinese New Year, a menu for the Chinese New Year with Jessica Hacker and on our Thrifty Thursday segment. So earlier, we made this lovely beef and broccoli.
We got dinner.
Which still has aroma throughout the entire studio.
But there's a new aroma that has been wafting through the studio.
You were just checking the oven here to see what we have going on.
Yep, we're making our own fortune cookies.
Which I've heard about, and I think maybe even tried once a long time ago, and it was disastrous. For me, it didn't work out. So tell us the proper way to do it.
It can seem really intimidating, but it's actually extremely easy. So of course, you've got to write your
fortune, which
or note or whatever it is that you want to do.
And I would like you to take notice of this fortune that we've got today, if we can get a shot of that as well, because yeah, pretty neat fortune for you. For all you Good Morning.
I know, if you can squint.
For all you Good Morning Idaho fans out there, make sure you grab it. So just a piece of paper. It won't burn in the oven, right? I'm assuming.
Nope, you're not going to put this in the oven.
Oh,
no,
not even
paper does not go in the oven.
Oh, okay. Well, how about that?
Okay. First off, you need to sift together the sugar, flour, and some cornstarch.
Sifting, is this important as opposed to just mixing it in the bowl?
It is, because the sugar, I mean, unless you're using a baker's sugar that's a lot thinner, obviously it's going to be really grainy.
Okay.
And the cookies are going to be thin. So you do that, and then in here is just the egg white, the water, oil. And go ahead and just pour it in there. No egg yolk.
Pretty basic stuff. Yep. Oh, just the white.
Just the whites. So just one.
And how many is this going to make here?
This is going to make about 12 cookies.
Wow, and that doesn't look like a lot of, would you call that dough, batter,
yeah, it's kind of, yeah, it's, I don't know, it's kind of funky looking, but you're going to put it on the really thin. I kind of think about it as crepes.
Okay.
So you want it to be super thin, so it goes a long ways. And of course, depending on how big you want to make your cookies.
Sure.
Okay.
That would make a difference, yeah.
So it's all mixed.
It's all mixed. You need to, we've already been baking away here.
So we're going to spray your cookie sheet here as well.
Yes. You need to work in really small batches, because obviously the forming of the cookie happens when it's hot and after it's cooked.
Okay.
So work in really
too much, it probably won't work.
Yes.
Right.
So you only want to, I would recommend, 4 at most. If you're first starting out, maybe just do 2 until you get kind of comfortable with the process, because it is, like I said, it's kind of intimidating.
Because you have to make sure that you're fast enough at actually doing the folding.
Yes.
Okay, maybe a little trial and error at the beginning.
Yes.
Good to know.
Except right here, because we know you've got this under control.
Yes.
Yes, we got this. This is
what it will look like if you do it at home.
We are not, Spencer and I are not in charge of this step, so it'll probably turn out very well.
So you just want to put a little bit in there.
Okay.
And you can just use your spoon if you want, or if you're feeling.
Are you trying to thin it out any more than that, or is that thin enough?
Yeah, and it'll really thin, and you can even just kind of roll your pan and just kind of try to keep it of a circle.
Okay.
Okay. And then into the oven.
For how long?
300 degrees for about 10 minutes, depending on your oven give and take. You just want your edges to start to brown.
Okay.
So then,
which you did.
We got going on here.
Of course.
Oh, well, this one got a little too done.
Which is okay though, because as long as it's soft, it should still form, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it peels right off.
Yes, as long as it's still. Get that up out of the way.
Okay.
As long as it's still moldable, you can fold it. And is this where the?
This is where this comes in.
There you go.
Throw your fortune in the
middle.
Put
it in the middle. Fold it in half.
Okay.
I got those. Fold after
you focus on the cookie.
Yeah, fold it in half, and then you just want to push in the middle, which is going to make it do.
So it's kind of in half and then in half another direction.
And then I use a cookie sheet just because it'll help hold the shape of it while it cools.
So you can't see it, but it's wanting to unfold a little bit.
So then once it comes out, it's going to have.
And then it'll break open just like you're used to from a restaurant. That's so cool.
That's great.
So yes, fold it in half and then push into the side that's the folded side. And bend them.
And bend it.
Good fortune for Good Morning Idaho, which is the one we just put inside there as well. So fortune cookies, a recipe at idahoonyourside.com, plus, of course, a link to livingonacoupon.com where you can find all of this. So go celebrate the Chinese New Year.
Happy Chinese New Year.
We know you were looking forward to that holiday this weekend. Thanks so much, Jessica, for being with us this morning.